I'm going to show you how to make the animated cartoon in Flash. The first thing that you should do is open up Flash. Yours might look a little bit different than mine depending on the version. And then the first thing you want to do is if it asks you, it might ask you, let me start a new document. It might ask you like some questions about what you want. Always choose ActionScript 3.0. And that's going to open up your stage. Now you can click over here, and these are the different views. So depending on the view that you click, depends on how they are arranged. So just choose the one that fits your view or taste the best. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to change the size of our canvas. So we're going to change it to 720 by 480. This is just going to make it a little bit more widescreen. Next, we're going to create the hill. So I'm going to rename this hill. This is my layer. Okay, and then I'm also going to create another layer, and I'm going to name it sky. I'm renaming it by just double clicking on the name, and I'm going to move the sky behind or underneath my hill. So make sure hill is selected. Choose your rectangle tool, and then over here on color, do linear gradient. If you don't have color, you can go up to the top and go window color, and that will pop up this box, and then go linear gradient. Make sure the not the stroke but your fill color is selected, and then double click on this box, and for the hill choose a dark green on one side and then a lighter green on the other side. Make sure you don't have multiple squares. If you accidentally add some more squares, just click and drag down on your mouse to delete. So you should only have one square on each end, a dark and a light. Okay, once you have your color, come over here and, we also want to add a stroke. So you can either do it from over here or over here. For my stroke, I just want to do a dark green. So then I have a dark green stroke and a gradient fill. I'm going to come over here and create my hill. Now, if you have a really thick stroke, it's because your stroke wasn't at like 1. I wouldn't do anything more than 2. If you mess up, just hit Command Z, 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 and it will backspace. Next, we're going to curve it a little bit, so I'm going to grab my selection tool, and if you notice that when I put my cursor on this top stroke, I get a little curved line by my arrow. That means it's going to allow me to curve my line, so I can just curve it how I want. So I'm going to make a little hill. Now it's a little bit big, so I'm actually going to hit my free transform tool. I'm going to shrink my hill a little bit so it doesn't take up as much of the space. And then I want to change the way my gradient is going. So I'm going to hit my paint bucket tool, and depending on how I drag my mouse depends on which way my gradient goes. So I'm going to go from a dark gradient to a light gradient, something like that. Perfect. Now I'm going to do my sky. I'm pretty much going to do it the same way. I'm going to grab my rectangle tool. For the stroke, I want no stroke. And then for my fill, I'm going to do dark blue. And see, I've added more than one, so I'm just going to delete. It's easy to add more and not realize it to a light blue. So dark blue to a light blue. And I always just double check to make sure I haven't added any. And then I'm going to draw my sky. And then I'm going to change the way the gradient goes. I'm going to grab my paint bucket, and I'm going to do dark to light like this, something like that. Okay, so I have my nice hill. So next I'm going to create some mountains, or I guess these could technically be considered hills. So I'm going to put mountains, and I'm going to place it in between the ground and the skylighter, or the hill. I'm actually going to rename this ground. I'm going to name that hill. There you go. So in between my ground and my sky is going to be my hill. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the oval tool, and I'm going to do a solid color, And I'm going to do a bluish color. You can type in this number right here or just choose like a dark blue that you would like. It's kind of a greenish blue, hopefully, maybe. Yeah, that's fine. That'll work. Oops, I deleted it. Okay. Actually, oh, I'm changing my mind. I'm gonna do 000066 for the stroke, and then for this, I'm actually gonna do it. So 003333. So that's more of a bluish green. I like that better. So blue for this for the stroke, greenish blue for the fill. Okay, so you don't have to do those exact colors, but something like that. And then draw an oval on the left-hand side. It's okay if it falls off of this white stage, but just remember that when you play it, it's only going to show what's on the white stage. So I'm going to draw an oval, and then I'm going to grab my selection tool. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to double click on the layer. And I'm going to edit, copy, and I'm going to paste it. So I'm just going to paste 3 more times. So I have like 3 hills. And then to get back, I'm just going to hit scene 1 right here. Okay, and then if you notice, I have 3 hills. Okay, now I'm going to recolor these actually. So I'm going to add a linear gradient. It's not really the color that I want. So I'm going to do the same bluish green on this side, so 003399, kind of a bluish color. And then I'm going to do a greenish color on this side, 006666, something like that. And then I'm going to take my paintbrush and kind of just go from blue to green on each one of these. And they don't have to be even across the whole thing. Something like that. Okay. Then I'm actually going to come in here and I'm going to manipulate these just a little bit to make it a little, you know, you can make it look like some hills more versus just some round. And you can always add some more. Like I might actually add one maybe here. And I'm going to make it this one a little bit more. I mean, really, you can just make it look like whatever you want it to look like. You know, it's all good. Whatever you want it to look like. I'm going to copy it and paste another one. And no, that's fine right there, actually. I don't like the way it looks. I'm gonna. So it's not exactly the same. I don't know. It's okay. Just make you some hills, basically. Just whatever you feel like looks good. Now what I'm going to do is click on the first frame of the hill, and that's going to select all of the hills that you have created. And I want you to right click and go convert to symbol. And then we're going to name it hills. Make sure it's a movie clip and then click OK. Once you do that, we're going to add a couple filters. So right here it says filter, we're going to add a blur filter. Just to, since technically these mountains are off in the distance, we're going to make them in the distance. And we actually, I'm going to bring this down because I can't see my stuff. So on my blur property, I am going to actually make the quality high. And that's just going to blur it a little bit more. And that should take care of my hills. I actually kind of think they're a little bit too high. I'm going to shrink them a little bit. Perfect. Okay. Now if you notice, my hills go outside, but if you hit Command Return, this is going to be your actual movie. So if you notice anything outside of that, they just get cut off. My hills look awful. Hopefully yours look better than mine. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw some clouds. So we're going to add a new layer and we're going to name it Clouds. And we're going to place it between the sky and the hill. Okay, now grab your oval tool and you need to make sure your object drawing is off. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to actually hide my hills because it'll help me. That way I can't see them, but they're still there. I didn't delete them, I just hid them. And then I'm going to select my oval tool again and then make sure the stroke is none and my fill is white. Okay, now draw an oval towards the top and then just keep placing the ovals in the form of a circle. If you mess up like I messed up there, I'm just going to Command Z and redo it. Okay. Then take my paint bucket tool and fill in the center. And I have my first cloud. And then just make another cloud, but just make it in a different shape. So not that way we don't have the two exact same clouds. Maybe this one's a little bit more. Oh. If that happens, then just keep trying, it'll work. So I have two different clouds here. Okay, now select each cloud one at a time. So I'm going to select this cloud and right click and go convert to symbol, and I'm going to name it Cloud 1. Make sure it's a movie clip. Then I'm going to select this one and go convert to symbol. I'm going to make this one a Cloud 2 movie clip. Okay. Now, we don't want them to be exactly the same. I know my hills are pretty big, so I'm actually going to shrink this up a little bit. Same thing with that one. That way when you add your hills, they're not being, so something like that. And then I'm going to make them look a little bit more realistic too, because just like the hills, the clouds are pretty far away. So I'm going to hold down this one first, and I'm going to go to Properties, and I'm going to go to Filter, and I'm going to add a blur. Okay, I'm going to make the quality high. And for the color effect style, which is up here, color effect, I'm going to change it to alpha. And alpha allows me to change the transparency of an object. So I'm just going to change the transparency to 65, so it's a little bit further away. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this one. I'm going to do a blur. I'm going to make the quality high. And then for this one, I'm going to do an alpha, but this one, maybe it's a little bit closer, so I'm going to make it an 85%. So they're not the exact same, and it adds a little bit of variation. Okay, the next thing is going to be the fence. Trying to bring this down so I can see more of my layers. Okay, so I'm going to add a new layer, and I'm going to name it Fence. And I'm going to put it on the very top, because we want it to go in front of our grass. I'm going to choose, I'm actually going to create my fence off of the canvas, so I'm just going to scoot over. I'm going to choose my rectangle tool, and I'm going to do a stroke of dark brown. Ew, I don't like that color. Yeah, actually I'm going to keep that color. 33330. And then I'm going to do light brown for the fill color. Looks weird now, but it'll look better. And I might change it. You can always change your colors, no big deal. And then for the stroke, I'm actually going to make it a little bit thicker. So 3.0. Then I'm going to draw a skinny rectangle. Oh yeah, that's not going to work. Oh yeah, that's much better. I'm just going to delete that and I'm actually going to change this. Oh yeah, I think this might be better. Yeah, that'll work. So as long as you have a dark brown and a lighter brown, it'll work. And then draw a skinny rectangle. Now grab your selection tool and bow the right side a little bit. So just kind of, we don't want a perfect fence. Something like that. I'm not even sure I like this color. Hope it's too red. Oh, that's a good color. Okay, really better. I like that color better. So, you know, obviously you just gotta test the color every now and then. And then I'm actually gonna bow this one up a little bit. And so you're just kind of just manipulating the fence a little bit so it's not the same. Okay, and then I'm gonna double click. If you only click once, you're only gonna select the fill. So make sure you double click to select all of it. Right click, convert to symbol, and name it fence. Make sure it's a movie clip, and then click OK. Now double click to go inside of it. So if you notice, in Flash you can make elements inside elements. So this fence is made up of multiple parts. And so instead of having 10 different layers on my main one saying, you know, left post, middle post, right post, top board, middle board, bottom board, and having each one of these layers on here crowding it, I can actually create it inside. So then it's not crowding my layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to name this one left post, and then I'm going to actually duplicate it, and I'm going to name this one middle post and the right post. But I want to come in here and I'm going to copy, I'm going to paste it to each one of these. So now that I have, so then I have three different posts, but I obviously don't want my posts to look the same. So I'm going to come in here and just kind of change them up a little bit. That way I technically have 3 posts, but they're not exactly the same. So something like that. So now I have 3 posts. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out just a little bit, 50. And I'm going to put my first post over here, my middle post here, and my left post here. Now make sure they're corresponding to the right name. So your right post, see, my right post is actually my middle post. So I'm going to have to change that. So make sure that they correspond. So then, you know, my right post is my right, my middle is my middle, and my left is my left. Okay. So let me zoom back in. We all want them to be the same height for the most part. Okay, so now we have those. So now we need to draw the boards that go horizontal. So I'm going to create a new post. I'm going to name it top horizontal. I'm going to take this and I'm going to draw a square. I'm going to make it actually a little bit longer. Oops. Then I'm going to just, once again, I'm going to manipulate it just like I did the other one, just so I have a little bit different. Maybe it's been there for a while. Okay. Then I'm just going to add 2 more layers. I'm going to name it middle horizontal and bottom horizontal. I'm going to take this, I'm going to click on the first frame to select it. I'm going to copy it. You can copy it by going Command C or Edit Copy, and then Command V paste or Edit Paste. Okay, and then I'm just going to move them. And then once again, I'm going to manipulate them so that I don't have the exact same looking post. The best cartoons are just, the best drawings are just random. Whatever you feel like doing. I'm actually going to go out. It's a little bit bottom heavy. We'll say that. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so you can kind of see. Now, so I have 6 different posts and 6 different layers. Now, if I click back on scene 1, I just have a fence, and I can move the whole thing. It moves as one element. So the only way to manipulate individual pieces is to double click on it and go back into it.